Pope Leo XIV, first American Pope, just published an encyclical Magnifica Humanitas. The press covered it like a Hallmark card. The Pope says, be nice to each other. AI needs ethics. But what we got was, hey, check out page 6, below the fold, between the weather and a story about a cat that learned to use a vending machine. Read the actual text. This man did not write a greeting card. He wrote a bill of indictment. He calls to disarm the AI race. Explicitly, not let's have a conversation, let's form a working group, disarm, as in stop. Put it down. The Pope names the invisible labor. Overseas data labelers paid pennies to scrub training data while the models they trained generate billions in revenue. He calls out black box algorithms that dictate credit scores, hiring, employment, no appeal, no transparency, no human anywhere in the loop. The Pope, I have to say it a few times, it's crazy. The Pope went after the tech first agenda directly. The idea that progress means centralized compute running centralized decisions over centralized populations. And if you don't like it, there's a support ticket you can file. Good luck. Look, the Vatican has been running on centralized authority for 2,000 years. If anyone knows what a cartel looks like from the inside, it's the guy in the white hat. When one of the oldest centralized institutions on earth warns you about a new one, maybe you don't listen for the theology. Maybe you listen because they know the architecture. The Pope is describing a system where a handful of entities own the intelligence layer, the decision layer, and the labor layer. Everyone else, you're just input, data, output, subject. You're not the customer. You're not even the product. You're the raw material being refined. And here's the part most of the press missed. He's not just saying centralized intelligence is dangerous. He's describing the exact opposite and calling it sacred. Human creativity, human dignity, human potential. Not as training data, not as a metric to optimize, but as the entire point. Technology that serves the person using it. Tools that elevate instead of extract. That's the line he drew in Latin, in an encyclical, which means it's now official Catholic doctrine. The Pope just told Silicon Valley their business model is a sin, not in a think piece, in a papal document. That's not a hot take. That's a 2,000-year-old institution looking at your server rack and saying, that's not progress. That's just a new Pope. Anthropic just announced Project Glasswing. 50 partners, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, Oracle, the whole reunion tour. The mission, they say, secure the world's critical software before AI gets turned against it. Okay. What's the catalyst for this urgent global security initiative? It's their own model. Claude Mythos. It's unreleased, so advanced it finds software exploits faster than human experts across every major operating system. In a month, their partners found more than 10,000 high or critical level security vulnerabilities. 10,000 in a month. At Cloudflare, they found 2,000 bugs, 400 of which were high or critical level. Better false positive rates than human testers, which, I mean, it's incredible. It is, from many metrics, but, now your AI is better at breaking things that humans built. At Mozilla, they patched 271 vulnerabilities in Firefox. That's 10 times what they found with the previous model. And that's Firefox. That's the browser that markets itself as the secure alternative. Mythos exploited Wolf SSL, the cryptography library used by billions of devices, forged certificates, fake bank websites, fake email providers, completely indistinguishable from the real thing to any end user. You're really logging into what you think is your bank. The URL is right. The lock icon is right. Your money is gone. They built a skeleton key for the entire internet, and then they formed a coalition to manage who gets copies. This is not a cybersecurity initiative. This is a fire department that also sells arson. So basically, we discovered our product can burn down every building on the block. To keep you safe, we're now the only ones allowed to hold the matches. Look, I'm not really a conspiracy guy. I don't think there was a meeting where someone said, let's build the weapon so we can sell the shield. I don't think that's how it works, but I do think it's worse. I think the weapon got built because building it was profitable. Now the shield is also profitable. Same company, same model, same incentive structure. They didn't plan the Racket, they became it. By the way, it's open source maintainers, volunteers. They're the ones fixing bugs on weekends. It's not their actual jobs. Now they're drowning in vulnerability reports. Some of them, Anthropic says in their own blog post, have literally asked them to slow down. Please, we can't patch that fast. Please stop finding so many problems. You know your product is disruptive when the people you're helping are begging you to help less. Oracle's patching multiple times faster. Microsoft says their patch volume will continue trending larger for some time. Palo Alto Networks 5 times the patches in one release. Everyone is scrambling because one company built a tool that sees through everything. And now every other company has to sprint just to stay standing. And who's the gatekeeper? The company that built the tool. Here's the thing. If your data never leaves your machine, there's nothing for a Mythos class model to find. No vault, no guard, no problem. Vitalik's been saying this for a decade. Turns out self-custody isn't just for your wallet. It's not a technical issue. It's a choice. And the business model? That's the Racket. TeraWulf, on May 26, acquired a 1 gigawatt data campus in eastern Kentucky. I'll say that again. 1 gigawatt. That's a nuclear power plant. That's not a data center expansion. That's annexing a piece of the American power grid. The Muskie data campus. Muskie, like the fish. Very on brand for something about to swallow the local power supply whole. East Park Industrial, 285 acres. Kentucky Power is building a 345 kilovolt substation connected directly to the 765 kilovolt transmission backbone. Redundant connections, utility scale, already zoned. Permitting underway. 500 megawatts online by the second half of 2028. Another 500 by 2030. They're not building a server room. They're building an electrical substation with some computers attached. The CEO, Paul Prager, is so perfectly honest. Here's a quote. TeraWulf is fundamentally a power infrastructure company that builds digital infrastructure, not the other way around. He just told you out loud, we don't make software. We don't make models. We make sure the electricity goes to our buildings before it goes to your house. And that's not just them. Same week, Blockchain Digital Infrastructure expanded their CLT 01 center from 40 megawatts to 65. And that's locked under a 15-year electric service agreement. 15 years. My apartment lease isn't 15 years. Most marriages don't last 15 years. The company signed a 15-year contract with the power grid. They don't have to run it past a single voter. Mainstream outlets cover the apps, the chat interfaces, the chatbot that writes your emails. We cover the server farms because that's where we believe there's an actual war happening. In substations, in transmission agreements, in 285-acre industrial parks nobody's heard of, in counties that have never held a referendum. The cartel is bypassing the public entirely. They don't need permission. They just need a signed contract with Kentucky Power. And they have it. These data centers will be fed before local hospitals, before schools, before neighborhoods, because the contracts are drawn. The substations are under construction right now. You don't have to vote on it because nobody ever asked. The computer on your desk can't run frontier AIs yet, but I believe the hardware's coming. A few watts, local inference, no substation, no 15-year contract, nobody's permission, just yours. Funny how the stuff that actually serves you doesn't need you to annex a county. AWS just launched Strands Agents SDK. I'm going to read you the pitch. Build intelligent research assistants in just 30 lines of code. Open source, developer first. They're marketing it directly to independent builders, the people who want to build cool things without selling their soul to a cloud provider. Here's the 31st line. The one they don't want to show you. Everything Strands builds funnels directly into Amazon Bedrock, into AWS infrastructure. The scaffolding is free. The runtime is paid per query, per token, per month, forever. You write 30 lines of code, Jeff Bezos gets a recurring subscription to your application. This is the corporate capture of open source. And it's so elegant, you almost have to respect it. Almost. The framework is the free sample. The runtime is the subscription. They're not even mining your users' data this time. They're mining you, the developer, by making absolutely sure your application can't function unless it pings Amazon servers. You're not building on open source. You're building a loading screen for a billing portal. 30 lines of code, that's the pitch. 30 lines. I've written longer text messages. 30 lines of code, and suddenly you owe Amazon money every time someone asks your app a question. That's not a developer tool. That's a vending machine with you standing on the customer side. Real open source doesn't come with a meter. It compiles on your machine. It runs offline. It doesn't phone home unless you specifically tell it to. And even then, it asks first. The moment your open source framework requires an AWS account to do basic operations, it's not open source. It's a lobby. A very well decorated lobby with a gift shop. And that gift shop, it leads to a checkout page. The fact that this idea sounds radical tells you everything. 4 stories, same machine. The Pope drew the line. Centralized intelligence is a centralized threat. He named the invisible labor. He named the surveillance. He called it a sin in Latin with doctrinal authority. That's not a TED Talk. That's a 2,000-year-old institution reading your terms of service and saying no. The cartel's response? Project Glasswing. We build the weapon, we hold the countermeasure, we'll keep you safe. Pay up. The open source volunteers are drowning in patches. The tech giants are sprinting just to stay standing. And the company that made the key just appointed itself the locksmith. And to power all of it, the grid grab. Gigawatt campuses, 15-year power contracts, substations wired directly into the transmission backbone. No public vote, no debate, just rising steel and signed agreements. They're not asking permission, they're building the infrastructure now, so that by time you notice, it's too late to unplug. And to lock in the next generation of builders, strands, 30 lines of code, free scaffolding, infinite subscription, open source, moral warning, protection racket, power grab, developer capture, 4 faces, 1 architecture. Extraction. Here's the thing. The Pope didn't draw some abstract theological line. You can see it right now. Which tools run on your machine and which tools run on a meter in Kentucky? Which framework just works and which one needs a cloud key? The question isn't complicated. Who does the tool serve? That's the signal. Everything else is the racket. No panic, just signal. I'll see you next week.